had been learning everything. I went through the sugya and I was starting to feel, feeling getting into it, and my engine was revving up. And it was getting near my birthday. And, there's a Rambam, there's a letter from the Rambam. The Rambam says that the first time he came he says he was nichnas Har HaBayis HaGadol v'Hakodesh. He writes about the first time he came to the Har HaBayis. And he says that after that, he made it a Yom Tov Gadol, for the rest of his life to come to the Har HaBayis. And I thought, maybe, my birthday, that's a time that's a good time to make this move. And my birthday is actually on a Tes Tevis, which is the yahrzeit of Ezra HaSofer. And Ezra HaSofer, as we know, is one of the leaders of Kedushas Tzion in the times of Bayesheni. So I felt a lot of, good vibes and hashgacha. But I still wasn't sure. I was still hesitant, this. And I was in the library. I was in the Sifriyah Leumi in Hebrew University. I was looking for a certain book that had maps about the Har HaBayis and other things. And I was walking around there, and out of nowhere, I turn a bookshelf, and this friend of mine who actually had first introduced me to the Har HaBayis, his name's, and he bangs into me, and he's like, oh, don't tell anybody, but last week I went to the Har HaBayis, and again, he officially is not public about it, so maybe you want to censor the name of this part, but everybody knows it. And I was thinking, I was like, wow, why the heck is he telling me that now? And I was like, I've been just sitting on this, and I'm like, look, tomorrow's my birthday. I thought I would go. He's like, yalla, let's do it. And that was it. And I jumped in, and I woke up early in the morning, and I went, and Baruch Hashem, I haven't missed a birthday of being in Har HaBayis since. And I try to make a little suda. So
tell me about it. So you wake up in the morning early, and you have to do all the hachanas. So you wake up in the morning and you got to do the hachanas early.
Right. So I was being very careful and everything, and making sure I do a chafifa and properly clean myself. And you're not allowed to wear leather shoes on the Har HaBayis because it's the mitzvah of Mikdashi Tiro. One of the Drishas from Chazal is that you shouldn't go in leather shoes, and you can't carry a pouch. And there's a whole another sefer just on those halachas. So I was making sure I'm doing everything properly, and then I come to the Har HaBayis. And actually, when I started going, unfortunately, in those days there weren't very many people going yet. It was just starting. The movement just started picking up then. Like when I was going, there was about maybe 200-300 people that went that year, and Baruch Hashem, 4 years later, there's over 30,000. So the movement really exploded then. I'll tell you, that's another piece that got me, and I'll tell you in a second with Yehuda Glick. So that was another thing. I think that by Yehuda Glick, I think he, trying to remember the how the events played out, but we'll get to that in a minute. But so I was prepared and everything, and I went to the Har HaBayis, and it was just wow. It was actually seeing Mikdash and seeing this is where our forefathers did everything. This was the center of life. It was just an amazing feeling to walk there, and that's sort of where I developed my mantra that I say to people, one small step on the Har HaBayis is one giant leap for the Jewish people. Tzad katan b'Har HaBayis, tzad gadol la'am HaYehudi. Because it's very simple. You're just walking around the place, but on the other hand, you're taking massive steps forward. The geulah Mikdash and the advancement of the ultimate Jewish chazon. And it was an amazing experience. And not long after, I decided, I have to make a kfiyas. Just like we daven kavua, it sort of became a davening for me. Like, I would wait for the Har HaBayis to save up all my special requests to Hashem, and it became like a davening experience. I felt like I have to go. Once you start going, you have to go b'kfiyas. You have to always be connected to the Har HaBayis. When I had long periods of time where I didn't go, I started feeling like a lack. I gotta get to the Har. Gotta get to the Har.
Are you allowed to dive? They let you daven up there?
Right. So in those days, as I started saying, I forgot. So it was much more hostile. We used to be followed around by a group of Arabs called the Murbatiyon, which was a group of women that was affiliated with Hamas, and they used to shout at us Allah Akbar and all kinds of other curses, and they threw glass on the floor because they knew that we're going to walk barefoot, so somebody should get injured, and they would try to get close, and we had to have police, and you felt like a little bit more someone in a battle zone. There was not really any dangers. Like there was, like we were surrounded by police the entire time. They're more scared that maybe one of us will do something than the Arabs. But that's sort of the mentality here with the police, and then that's a whole nother sheer. But yeah, so that was a little bit intense. But Baruch Hashem, over the years, it's gotten much better. Geulah Dan a couple years ago throughout this Mubation group, and today it's fairly quiet. Midday Pam, you have if it's during holidays or near holidays or other times, occasionally you have a little bit more of various clashes on the Har. But again, and also what's gotten much better is the tefillah. It used to be like if you watering your lips, it was like they would arrest you and take you out, and it was a whole serious thing. And today, Baruch Hashem, we're pretty much openly davening. I've been on Yom Tif a number of times. We sang Hallel as a group. It's an amazing thing to be singing Hallel. People have snuck lulav and esrig in their sleeves, and shake their arm, because we know lulav and esrig is the Raice Kol Shiva in the Har HaBayis. There's machlokes about Yerushalayim, but the Har HaBayis l'chol hadayis is b'fnei HaBayis, and it's a zeichel aliyah l'regel. Yom Tif is my favorite time. Like, I go Yom Tif, Rosh Hashanah, that hits an Uman thing. My brother's always trying to drag me to Uman. I said I'm happy to go, but Rosh Hashanah, Har HaBayis is my place. We have a minyan that davens by the Koisum, and we go up afterwards. Sometimes try to have someone blowing shofar outside, and we hear it while we're inside. The mitzvah of shofar on the Har HaBayis is the Raice, and it's an amazing feeling just to be with Am Yisrael. You have, there was another thing. When I first started going to Har HaBayis at that period also, I was very into Achdus. I was very into working to get people together, and I'm still into Achdus. But then I was like working with, let's make an Achdus movement, and let's make this movement. And one thing I started realizing is that, like, when your whole movement is like making Achdus, like I want to make Achdus, a lot of times you don't have Achdus, because everyone's focused on like the fact that, we're all different and we're trying to make Achdus. But when you just do something and it attracts all kinds of people, then Memela you have Achdus. In other words, Har HaBayis, I realized, was something where Memela there's Achdus. You got a Chareidi coming, you got a there's only one Beis HaMikdash. And by nature, it's something which is going to force us to have Achdus and creates Achdus. And it's an amazing feeling. And it's been an amazing aspect of my Judaism. And, as time went by, I learned more and became more excited to share and open up and teach others. And I see it as part of my ultimate mission in connecting Am Yisrael to the Beis HaMikdash. And it's my dream to build, to be part of building the Beis HaMikdash in my lifetime. In our life, we have everything we need. It's just in the mind. We gotta get out of the goalless mindset and get in line with the geulah and start thinking big and start thinking about, what we're really here for in Israel, and not start worrying everything about my yoimu hagoyim or my yoimu zeh. We just gotta do. And when we just do, we do what the Torah says, and we do what Hashem says. Hashem protects us, and everything turns out for the good. And this is what I'm trying to be a part of.